Hello and welcome to Joe Marquis Wagers. Today is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. Only 8 days left until the kickoff of the NFL regular season. Today I'm going to do a preview of the NFC South. There are not any nicknames that I know for the NFC South like there is for the NFC East, but if you know of one, feel free to share, or if you would like, make one up. As a reminder, last season the Buccaneers finished on top with a record of just 9-8, followed by the Saints, Falcons, and then the Panthers. This division was by far the worst division in football last year, and I expect them to be again this year, although probably not quite as bad as last year. The Falcons got a new QB and the Panthers got a new head coach, both of which I expect to help their teams. I went through each team's schedule week by week and decided if they were going to win or lose that game. Here is the breakdown for the Buccaneers. The Bucs surprised some people last year, including the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs. Baker Mayfield played very well last year, but he lost his offensive coordinator, Dave Canales. Canales was the QB coach in Seattle the year before when Geno Smith had his best year. Geno dropped off some when Canales left for Tampa Bay. I expect a similar drop for the Bucs this year. Plus, they'll be playing a first place schedule. I have them finishing 8-9 and out of the playoffs. The next NFC South team I looked at was the New Orleans Saints. The most interesting game on their schedule is in Week 17 when Derek Carr's old team, the Raiders, visit the Superdome. When trying to predict how teams will perform, it almost always comes down to QB play. Sometimes that is in the form of their health, and other times it just comes down to skill level and decision making. I am not sold on Derek Carr. Do I think he is one of the top 32 QBs in the league? Sure, of course. Do I think he is top 10? No, I do not. It is difficult to win in this league when you do not have a top 10 QB. I have the Saints finishing the year at 7-10 and out of the playoffs. The third NFC South team I looked at was the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons had a very interesting offseason. They brought in a new coach and they picked up Kirk Cousins in free agency. Those were both wins. But when they used a first round draft pick on a QB, it was a little odd. Don't get me wrong, I love Michael Penix. I was hoping he would drop to the Seahawks so they could draft him. My issue with the pick was that they spent a ton of money on Cousins, and their window with him at QB is 2 to 3 years at most. If they're trying to win now, they would have been better served using that pick on a weapon for Cousins or a starter on defense. Even with that curious draft pick, I still think the Falcons come out on top in this very weak division. They may even win a first round playoff game at home, but I don't consider them a serious contender to win the whole thing. I have them finishing 10-7 and in first place in the division, and I did get them at minus 120 on DraftKings to win the division. The last NFC South team is the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers have a new head coach in Dave Canales, who is quietly becoming known as a QB whisperer. This is why he was hired to be the head coach of the Panthers. This is a make or break year for Bryce Young. If he doesn't show the makings of an NFL QB this year with Canales as coach, the Panthers will be drafting a QB in the first round next year. Considering the Panthers finished with the worst record in the league last year, their schedule is not easy. They play the last place team from the AFC North last year, the Cincinnati Bengals with a healthy Joe Burrow. They also play the last place team from the NFC North, the Chicago Bears, who used the Panthers draft pick to draft Caleb Williams. That is some bad luck. They also had the misfortune of seeing CJ Stroud have the best rookie season of any QB in history, who they could have drafted over Young. I think the narrative and the schedule are just too much for the Panthers. I have them finishing league worst again for the third year in a row with a record of just 2-15. I got them on DraftKings that have the fewest wins at plus 550. The only team with any value on their win total is the Carolina Panthers. Both DraftKings and Bet365 have set their win totals at 5.5. I have them only winning 2 games this year, so I played the under at plus 100 on Bet365. That wraps up my breakdown on the NFC South. The NFC North video will be out in a couple of days. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, Joe Marquis Wagers. If you have already subscribed, thank you, and please share my channel on all of your social media platforms. Good luck on all of your wagers, and in this case, your futures wagers as well. And remember, when it comes to wagering, there is no such thing as a lock. There are only logical, well reasoned wagers with good value.